concept of free verse poetry that he um, wrote about in the 1950s has been understood in a number of different ways, what it is that's being projected. The idea was that instead of the form of a poem being derived from traditional patterns of meter and rhyme, there was an access to an originating formal principle in one's own being that came from the materiality of one's body, from the concrete specificity of one's attention, from the characteristic of one's own intelligence, from the unconscious character of one's own involvement in the nature of being, and so forth. And
what's free about that?
What's free?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, what's free is not free.
Did I say free?
Yes, you did.
Oh, I said free verse. Well, that was the common name. The common name that he renamed Projective Verse. And when people think about what that projective idea was, that form could be originary, that it could be arrived at through the concrete nature of one's own being. Many different ways in which that manifested appear in different poets, and you think about the poets who are connected with that, they're really quite different. The first conversation I had with Olson was about Larry Eigner. Larry Eigner was a victim of cerebral palsy, and he wrote poetry that was fragmentary and scattered all over the page, and in a way was we talked about the question of projective verse in that extreme form of the derivation of elegant formal utterances out of what would seem to be a deleterious condition. If you think about the poetry of Robert Creeley or Robert Duncan and these are other poets who were involved in projective verse, that which is projecting is very different. It could be a character of mind, an intention of intention. That was Creeley's involvement and so forth. But with Ken, something that's most particular to the idea of projective verse was that it came from a working of the actual emphases, characters, and of Irby's own way of speaking. Anybody who knew or spent time with Irby for any amount of time and then heard him read would experience the utter continuity between the expressivity of his phraseology, the emphasis, the rhythm, the timing of the way he would speak, and the way the verse would work. And this was in a way, in a certain way, it looks like that was projective verse, but in another sense, he's kind of the most exemplary one of a person who was that. And thinking about this, there are several steps here. It's not like, okay, whatever the speech rhythms are, that is the poetry. It was that the actual character of speech became the material from which the composition took place, so that you would hear the continuity, the connection there, the interconnection between the voice and prosodic invention. But if you actually read the lines, they're as chiseled and as composed as the most elegant Tennysonian blank verse. Every phrase, every syllable is like a little block that's put there to make the thing occur. And so it is a kind of prosody, and it is a kind of formalism.
Measure. Williams.
Measure.
What is the measure?
Finding the measure. As Robert Kelly actually is the title of that book, that the work of the ear or the work of the discipline was the question of finding the measure.